Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow Amazon Prime enjoyers. Welcome back once again. So, I literally 5 minutes ago just finished watching not the first, the last season to come out, season 4 of excuse me, not that, The Boys. Literally just saw it, and I wanted to get the review out very quickly because I've seen everyone else doing it, and boy, do we have some things to talk about. Now, I haven't had a lot of moments to really gather my thoughts here. I haven't had too much time to really think of certain things. However, that doesn't mean we're not going to make the review because I need to get on this timely. So, what did I think? Now, the first thing I have to say before what I think, excuse me, not that, is what everyone else thinks. So, essentially, I heard a lot of mixed things. Now, I try and typically stay away from a lot of what other people are saying because I don't like getting influenced because I'm very easily influenced by a lot of things, whether I like it or not, and a lot of other people are too. But there's going to be, as always, light spoilers in this season and a lot of spoilers of the previous seasons. But, essentially, there's a lot to talk about. So, a lot of the people I watched this with didn't particularly like the season too much. And I've been hearing whispers because, as much as I don't want to get influenced by everything else out there, I still hear things here and there. And I've been hearing also people aren't really liking it too much. And even going off the reviews on Amazon right now, this season isn't rated too highly. Now, when it first came out, it was rated pretty poorly. Now, I don't know if that's review bombing for some other thing because you can't always trust reviews, although you can trust maybe a majority of them. And, you really have to pick and choose when you do that. Because, again, review bombing does exist. But typically, a lot of what I heard about the season from personal friends and just from what I've seen online, the little I have, has been mixed. Now, let's get to the brass tacks here. What did I think? I actually really liked the season. It wasn't crazy good, but it also wasn't crazy bad. And overall, I would say I enjoyed it. Now, I'm not ever a really hard critic. I don't really judge things too harshly as long as they fit into what I like. Obviously, all these reviews are very personal to me. But overall, I honestly really like this season. Now, the one thing that I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, I heard the next season of The Boys is the last one. And honestly, from everything they're doing, I mean, maybe they could stretch it out for two more seasons, maybe. But obviously, the big thing with Billy Butcher from the last season, obviously not this season, because again, no big spoilers, but obviously going off the last season, his time is running out. He's on a clock here, right? Now, whether they're going to stick with that, whether they're not, who knows? But overall, the season seems like it could come to a close fairly quickly, especially with the route they're going. We're getting into the end game now. Now, this is where a lot of the season, one of the main complaints that a lot of my friends said was nothing much really is going on. And there's a couple caveats to this. I think they're explaining certain things. Now, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, a lot of stuff isn't really going on. Not a lot of stuff is changing, and I would say like this season kind of counted as a lot of setup with stuff. We obviously see some characters interact. There's a lot of comedy, and I think a lot of the characters just, off the rip, I think all the acting was really good. We'll get to some of the stories soon, but a lot of the acting, all the actors did great. Obviously, the sad part is there's been a lot of memes with Starlight, aka the actress Erin Moriarty. I don't know how much I want to talk about that, but it's been kind of messed up what's happening to her. A lot of people are memeing her, and this is where, like, because so many people are doing it, I kind of discussed this as well with my group. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it gets to a really bad point and something bad happens. I won't go further than that, but it was funny, kind of. I'm from the era of the Xbox 360, so a lot of fucked up things are funny to me, sadly, even though they're wrong. And the Erin Moriarty stuff is really messed up. I don't know why she did it. Excuse me. And obviously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, like, I believe she did Botox. I'm not fully even comprehensive on the situation, but essentially, Erin Moriarty, she obviously looks a little bit different from the previous seasons because she did either Botox or maybe some injections or something, and her face looks a little bit more skinny. Let's just say that. But that's been a thing that's been getting memed on. But aside from that, this is where a lot of people have said the season is really just kind of nothing's going anywhere. And for the most part, it is. However, a lot of the things in the season I don't feel like are actually that uninteresting. I always like the story of the boys, and again, it plays into certain niches I like. I like seeing the interactions, and again, for the most part, in the grand scheme of things, some things don't really make too much sense in this season because they really don't feel like they're making a lot of progress. But again, it's a lot of setting up for stuff that either happens later in the season or stuff that's going to happen in the next season. But I can understand why some people don't like that, but I personally like that. I don't think everything here was necessarily useless. Like I keep saying, it's set up. It's not useless. I think most of it was very enjoyable. You obviously have the classic boys like gore, comedy, and it's like dark gore, not dark gore, dark comedy, dark humor, nastiness. There's a lot of nastiness. There was specifically one episode where I was like, "Oh my god, this is getting into weird fetishes." Like it's so fucking weird. It's so good. I think the story is still good though. I still think it holds up. It's just you can't take the season as like too much crazy shit happening, especially in the beginning. Like good lord, if you asked me to like say, okay, where are we before the season started versus where are we after, almost nothing really has progressed except in this final episode. And again, a lot of the season was really leading up to like this big event, these big events that are happening, and they're still unfolding now too, but a lot of stuff happened, and I think some of the stuff, especially towards the middle, started to pick up. But again, I never felt like, oh, this is a drag, oh, nothing happened and I'm bored and like this is terrible, this was a waste of an episode. No, because we see the characters interact, we see them get into like stupid things. Now, granted, some of the things that happen I think are kind of nonsensical, and that's kind of one of the weak points of the season. Some of the stuff that happens not only is kind of like stupid and dumb, where it's like at a certain point, a lot of people make fun of the group in the show, the boys, Mother's Milk, Huey, Frenchie, all of them. They make fun of them and they're like, how the fuck are you guys even like working? How the fuck are you guys not dead? And at a certain point, you really gotta question, how the fuck are they not dead? It literally gets to the point where plot saves them so much, and I don't even want to say in a smart way. It's just they ignore big facts, and I'll give one example here. This is slight spoilers. Obviously, Victoria Newman is in this season. She's the, head popper. And the boys are kind of against her, and at a certain point, they just fail so epically to kill her so many times to her face that even she insults them, and she doesn't even kill them. Like, imagine someone tried to kill you and they failed so miserably that you didn't even want to call the police or you didn't even want to beat them up. You didn't even want to laugh at them. And that's kind of what happens some of the time, where it's just like, how are these people getting away with this and not dying? And it's literally because they're just so pathetic sometimes. It's like, wow, I can't believe this. Now, granted, Victoria Newman's a little bit of a fringe case because she obviously has history with Huey, but there's a lot of things that in this season just sometimes didn't make sense, and they really tried to BS it with story, with just plot of like, oh, just believe it's this way. And it's like, wow. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of funny things in this season. Obviously, Frenchie's a clown, and Frenchie does go through character development, and that's another thing I like. Even though there's not much in the grand scheme of things that happens, I think on a micro scale, certain things do end up happening. Now, again, they're mostly centered in the middle, and more so at the end, especially in the last episode. There's a lot of stuff that happens leading up to it too. But the beginning is pretty dry, even though I think it's cool, even though I think it's funny, and obviously you have the classic boys, not only, comedy, dark humor, and gore, but you also have like the social critique where they make fun of media, they make fun of how people are sheep, they make fun of the government, how everything's owned by, let's just say, BlackRock. In this universe, it's Vought. They make fun of all the things that they constantly do. It's nothing necessarily new, but I don't think it necessarily degraded. Again, I'm gonna keep echoing this. It's really just a mostly setup season, but I didn't mind it, and I thought it was okay. And I would say more than okay. I thought it was good. Not great, not amazing, but it was good. It was a nice watch. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next season. Because there's build up and build up and build up. And when we finally get to the end of the final season here, I think in some ways some people will be let down, sure. There are big reveals, but if you're looking for some big, like, hoopla fight between, like, big, grandstanding individuals, you might be a little disappointed. And that was kind of the weird part. It's like, where are we going? It's like the whole season was a little messy. I think it was good. They had a lot of good moments in between, a lot of funny moments. Again, Frenchie's very good. And when it gets serious, it gets serious. Again, there's a lot of character progression between Billy, Frenchie, Mother's Milk, Huey. I think all of them get their own little kind of story arc. Now, granted, it focuses on them each individually in different levels. I think Huey got a lot of focus, especially with some of the episodes he had. But you see all these characters get different focuses during the season, and it was really, really nice to see all of them and how their individual stories are unfolding and how they kind of are changing, whether they want to do this anymore, why they're doing this. You do definitely see character development between all the characters, some of their backstory a little bit. And again, these are small things, not grand scheme things, but small things that I think matter and I enjoyed. But it has all these things where again, Frenchie's funny, but when his character arc comes along, it's decently serious and it's decently good, and I really liked it. Now again, some of the characters make decisions that sometimes don't make sense, and you really just gotta like have the plot save them or just ignore things for the plot. Like if anyone else did this, they'd be dead, but because it's the boys, because they're the main characters, they kind of have a little bit of plot armor, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of bullshit, but it is what it is. You have to go into it with a little bit of skepticism or a little bit of like suspension of disbelief, but it got a little uncomfortable at some times. Now, one of the main things that I disliked was it got a little too tropey. Now, obviously, this has become a new meta thing, right? And I don't even know what the fuck that means, but I keep hearing it being said. This is where things got a little bit too predictable. And when shows go like that, and I heard Rick and Morty got like that, it doesn't become too enjoyable. And that's why I would say this season was good, not great. It was a good watch. I overall think it was a good watch, but there's a lot of times where in the episode I'm like, okay, based on what's happening, I know what's going to happen. I know this person might die. I know how this is going to go down. Sometimes they did surprise me. Excuse me. But it's never really a surprise out of left field. It's more of a surprise not a surprise like you're going to see coming. It's more of just like a random thing that you're like, "Oh shit, I can't believe that." Like you wouldn't have even guessed it because it's just unrelated to anything. It's like, "Oh wow, they brought this person back or they're doing this." It's like something you couldn't guess. But sometimes there's a lot of things in here where it's pretty, I don't want to say cookie cutter, like cut and paste, but it's pretty much like if you've seen shows before and you're knowledgeable about like plots, you're going to start picking some things out, and some things end up becoming very, very, just you can determine what's going to happen. And, I don't want to say any more than that. I don't want to spoil things, but some of these things weren't a surprise, and there's dead giveaways. There's like, certain flags you'll see, and it was kind of annoying to see that happen more than once, more than twice even. It was like, okay, we know this character's gonna die, we know this is gonna happen, because it's a common trope how they do it. And that's kind of sad to see, because I think The Boys gets creative with a lot of things, and not to say the story's not creative. Again, overall, I think the season was pretty good. Beginning of the season, kind of dry, but again, most of the season, you're going through someone on the main cast's character arc, the boys, this is that, and that's not to say they only focus on them. We get some focus on the Deep, we get some focus on the other people in the Seven, not as much as I would have liked. Obviously, Homelander's like main front and center, but we do see some other stuff with other people, not as much as I would have enjoyed, but we do definitely get, even in the beginning, middle, and end, a lot of character development, or not even character development, just a lot of showtime on the main cast, which I thought was good. But again, mostly a filler, not filler season. I hate saying filler, but not big stuff happening until the middle and very end. A lot of setup, and they always relate it back to Gen V, and that's the biggest thing I would say. If you don't mind waiting and having like greater payoffs, there's some payoffs here, not many, but there's definitely going to be greater payoffs in the future. I think it's fine, but I can understand why people are a little upset with this season. Overall, again, I'm not a tough critic. I think it was pretty good. Overall, I would probably rate The Boys coming hot off the presses, and I'm kind of glad I'm doing it this quick, and I also might be a little biased doing it this quick, but I'd probably give The Boys season 4 at the very least, and there was some hype moments. I think the end was done extremely well, where it's like, wow, what's gonna happen next season? I'm excited. I'd probably give The Boys season 4 like a solid at least 8 out of 10 for sure. 8 out of 10 Billy Butchers guaranteed. I kind of want to put it higher, but it wasn't too crazy. But I'm personally, I fell in love with the universe. I really like it. It really has to do something to make me hate it, and I thought the episodes were fine. I thought they were pretty good. So 8 out of 10 Billy Butchers. Hope everyone enjoyed, and watch me live at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Ooh, ooh, ooh.